So today I want to talk about how to talk to your partner about your struggles with pornography. So this is for you if you have been thinking like, oh, man, I really should talk to them about this, or I should tell them about this, or maybe you're wondering, should I tell them about this? Is it too early? What should I share? How should I share it? All of that kind of stuff. If you have those questions come up, this video will help you decide and work through that. Now that means that you've already identified this as a problem. That's not in question. Your pornography struggles, your pornography habit is already a problem and you know that, and you're just deciding how and when and what to share with your partner. So I've worked through 6 steps that I think are really helpful to consider beforehand and during and after this conversation that will really set you up so it will go as well as possible and really give you kind of the best chance of it going well. So 6 steps. The first step is make sure you're in a good place. Make sure you're in a good place mentally, emotionally. Just really make sure that you're not overly stressed or tired or even hungry or whatever it is. Make sure that you are fairly, level-headed. That doesn't mean you have solved anything. You're sharing a problem. So this is like a real problem and you haven't solved it or anything like that, and that's fine. But just make sure there aren't any other factors that could impact it. So maybe the week that you're sharing, take a little bit extra care of yourself. Maybe that's going to the gym a little bit more, making sure you get a little bit more rest. Whatever that looks like for you, just really make sure that you are taken care of. That way you're more likely to approach the topic kind of with care, and you're more calm, and it just is more likely that the conversation will go well. So make sure you're taking care of yourself and you're in a good place. The second thing to consider is maybe sharing this with somebody who is a little bit more safe and neutral first. So maybe that's a friend that you have that's not super involved or can be really safe. Maybe that's a therapist that you're seeing or a therapist that you go to kind of go through the disclosure process and get it all out there. That's really important because especially if you're really new to this process, maybe there's a lot there. There's a lot under there. There's a lot festering. And that can be a lot to kind of share with someone for the first time, especially a partner that's going to be impacted and probably have some of their own emotions. They're not going to be able to sit there and kind of support you and just help you process like you might need to, because they're going to be impacted, so they're going to be reacting. So if you're new to this, or if you have a lot to share, or if you have a lot that you kind of need to process first, consider going to someone and sharing that with them first. And then from there, you can choose how to move forward. Which kind of moves me into the third thing I identified. Once you have done that, you can identify what pieces are really important to share. So you've got it all out there. Pick out which pieces are really important to share for you. So maybe you decide, okay, these 3 things are really important that I go over. Maybe these things aren't super helpful, or maybe I'm not ready to go there yet, or maybe these things I need to process more before I share that with them. And that's great. That's really healthy to do, to think through it that way. I typically see this go wrong in one of 2 ways with people. Either they go in and they share way too much. They just dump everything on their partner and it's completely overwhelming. It's too much. It's too much detail. It's too much for them to handle at one time. Either they do that or they go in and they share very little, not enough. And if you don't share enough, then it just leaves the person feeling worse. They're probably not going to feel good about this, but if you give them enough, at least they'll have some sort of understanding. If you don't give them enough, then they're just like, what is going on? I have all these questions. I don't have any answers. It just doesn't leave them feeling very well. So the balance of those 2 is tricky. And a really important thing to remember is your partner's hearing this for the first time likely. So while you've been thinking through this for a long time and processing through it and probably thinking about how you're going to tell them and what that looks like, you've been processing through it. They haven't, likely, right? they're hearing this for the first time, and that can be really overwhelming. So just keep that in mind, that this is sort of their first earful of this, and that can be overwhelming. Or maybe they thought that you were through this more than you are. Or maybe you've had some serious setbacks or relapses. So they're hearing that again, which means they probably have some emotions already from before. So just keep those things in mind. So some important things that I find that partners want to know. They typically want to know these things going in. They want to know how often you're looking at pornography. They want to know how long it's been going on. They want to know the extent of what you're doing. So if you're doing anything further than looking at pornography, if you've talked to people, chat rooms, that kind of stuff. And they often want to know where this started, if they don't know that yet, like where your habit started. And they want to know what your plans are to get help. So if you have plans to get help, if you've talked to someone, if you have plans to talk to someone, they want to know that. They want to hear that you're saying, hey, this is a problem, this is where it started, and this is my plan of where I'm going with it. So if you covered those bases, it goes a lot better because you've answered, a lot of the first questions that are going to come to their mind and what they really want to know. And if you cover those and you come prepared to talk about those, it also makes you seem like you are open and willing and ready to talk about this, and you want to share that with them. So the fourth thing is know what kind of support you're looking for from your partner. So it's up to them whether they choose to support you or not and how much they choose to support you, but it's helpful for you to kind of have an idea of what you would like that to look like going in. I see this kind of go both ways as well, and go poorly in one of two ways. One is the partner sometimes will jump all the way in and they'll be like, hey, I'm here for you, we can do this, I want to know everything. Like, tell me every single time you look at something, tell me every single time you do anything, I want full access to your phone, I want full access to your computer, I want all your passwords. And that can either be in a really supportive way or in a really like, you better do this now kind of way. So they jump all the way in and they want to know everything. And sometimes partners will just agree to that. So maybe you're like, oh, well, I want you to be happy. I want this to go well. So, okay, I'll do, whatever you want to make this work. And if you can't live up to that, if you can't follow through with that, then that's going to be more damaging in the long run. If you can't give them that kind of openness that they're looking for. So it's helpful for you to have an idea of what you want from them and what role you would like them to play ideally. So they get to decide still what they want to do and how much they want to be involved, but it's helpful for you to know that going in, how you would like them to be involved. So are you open to going to therapy with them? Are you open to them coming to some of your sessions, either, as a joint session or them just kind of coming into some of your personal sessions? Are you open to that? Would you want them to be an accountability partner? Would you be able to be that open and honest with them? Would they be able to handle that you're that open and honest with them? Would you want to tell them and be able to tell them every time that you relapse? So those are some things to consider. How would you like to work them into your relapse prevention plan, or would you like to work them into your relapse prevention plan? So think through those things and make sure that you have a clear idea of how much you're ready to let them in, because you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, because that's just going to cause more pain in the long run. So think through those things, and if you're really open with that and you set the expectations early and you're kind of like, hey, this is where I'm at and this is, how much I can kind of give you right now, they may not like that, but at least they're not kind of set up for something worse later. So think through those things. The other thing I want to mention here, so this is, I'm talking mostly from a perspective that's assuming that your partner isn't going to like what you're saying. That's sort of the assumption in this, because that's typically the people that I work with. Their partners are really hurt by this. They feel betrayed. They feel like you've been keeping secrets. They don't like it. So they're not supportive of that as far as being okay with your habit. But it is possible for some of you watching that your partner is going to not really see a problem with it. Maybe they don't see a problem with it at all. Maybe they even try to minimize or justify your problem when you share it with them. And if that's the case, then you just need to be even more solid in kind of why it's important for you to get help, why you're choosing to share that with them, and that you're just really solid in, hey, this is a problem for me because blank, 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 and this is why I'm getting help and this is how. So just make sure you're clear on that. So kind of their justifications don't sway you off of the path that you want to go. And it's okay, whichever way it goes, you are going to have differing opinions, but just make sure you're solid in where you're at and why you need help, because that will help you, stay on the path that you want to go on. So think through that. Number 5, make sure you guys have the energy to talk through what you need to talk through. Make sure you have the time and the space. Now, this goes for important conversations of any kind. This is something that I talk through with clients a lot, especially when they want to bring up something serious. Sometimes we're scared to do that, and we don't really want to do that, and so we throw it out there at a random time, or we throw it out there right before our partner has to leave, or they just got home from work and they're tired. All those factors are going to make this conversation go worse, okay? They don't have time, they don't have energy. So really make sure that you talk about this when you're both in a place where you have time to talk through it. You don't have to go anywhere really soon. You have the energy to talk through it. And just think through those things so you make sure that it's most likely that it will go well. Just like you want to take care of yourself and make sure you're in a good place, consider where your partner's at. So if they've had a really hard day or a long day, then it's probably not a good time for you to bring up this conversation, because they're going to be less patient and understanding than they would be if they were in kind of a solid place. So those are some, external factors that you can control that will make it more likely that this will go well. So it's not going to fix everything, right? But at least you don't have all these kind of external negative things coming in that make this conversation harder. It's hard enough as it is. We don't need to add more kind of difficulty to it. And remember, again, they're hearing this for the first time, so they're going to react, in probably assuming that they don't like this in a negative way. And that moves us into number 6. So allow them to react however they react. Allow them that space to sort of digest that and hear that, and whatever reactions come up for them, just let them have that. Don't try to push them into feeling a certain way or reacting a certain way. Just let them react however they react, and how, whatever emotions kind of come up for them. That may change over time, but just that initial reaction is important, that you are, as empathetic and as validating as you can be. And remember, again, right, they're hearing this for the first time, so it could be shocking. They could have a lot of feelings and thoughts come up, and they may need some time to process that. So give them that time if they need the time. Give them the space if they need the space. Just really try to be as understanding as you can to them, so then hopefully eventually you guys can reach a better place where you're able to interact and kind of come together a little more on this. And that shows that you are open to respecting them and validating them and involving them in this process, which will be really helpful as this continues later. So these steps, hopefully will help you be more prepared for this conversation. And it will hopefully help ensure that both of you and your partner get closer to what you need from this, and that you're more on the same page. So this is not an easy process. There will probably be many, many more conversations about this to come, but just keeping these in mind for this conversation and the future conversations. It hopefully will really help you. So take a breath. You can do it. Just prepare as best as you can and then work through things as they come up. So good luck. Please subscribe to our channel. Check out our PornReboot program. And we would love to hear from you. So comment with any questions that you have and we will answer them.